Hi guys, good day. Today we will have another set of discussion. I, May and Caniedo, together with my partner Aiza Blanco, will be discussing to you our assigned literary piece titled Olive Again by Elizabeth Strout. Background of the work. Elizabeth Strout first introduced her protagonist, Olive Kittredge, in her 2008 novel of the same name. The sequel follows a similar format consisting of 13 short stories set on the coast of Maine that do not follow each other but are all related in terms of events that are referenced or characters that Olive meets. Olive is in her 70s in this book, and the anecdotes span 10 years of her life. Unlike most sequels, the novel garnered stronger reviews than its predecessor, with nearly universal critical acclaim and a public eager to learn more about Stroud's fascinating septuagenarian. The book was also chosen for Oprah's Book Club, which helps sales in a way that wonderful reviews, while appreciated, could never have done. Given that Stroud's introduction to Olive Kittredge became a New York Times bestseller, won the Pulitzer Prize for fiction, and was made into a miniseries that won a slew of Emmy Awards. The fact that the sequel should be even more successful than Olive Kittredge was nothing short of a triumph. About the author. Elizabeth Strout is the author of the New York Times bestseller Olive Kittredge, for which she was awarded the Pulitzer Prize, the national bestseller Abide With Me and the Amy and Isabel winner of the Los Angeles Times Art Seidenboom Award and the Chicago Tribune Heartland Prize. She has also been a finalist for the PEN Faulkner Award and Orange Prize in London. She lives in Maine and New York City.
So for the character web, we have Olive Ketteridge, Jack Kennison as the fiancé of Olive, Betsy Kennison as the died wife of Jack Kennison, Cassie Kennison as the daughter of Betsy and Jack Kennison, Elaine Croft as the former lover of Jack Kennison, and Tom Groger as the ex-lover of Betsy Kennison. We also have Henry Ketteridge as the died husband of Olive, Christopher Kittredge as the son of Olive and Henry, Annabel Kittredge as the wife of Christopher Kittredge, Henry Kittredge Jr., the son of Christopher and Annabel Kittredge. We also have Marlin Bonny and Edith as the friends of Olive.
Olive again has 13 chapters, and in every chapter, Olive Kittredge introduces a new character. Here in chapter 1, we have Jack Kennison, Olive Kittredge, the protagonist of the story, Betsy Kennison, Cassie Kennison, Elaine Croft, Tom Groger, Henry Kittredge, Schroeder, Fish Eyes.
So for chapter 2, we have another set of characters. We have Marlin Bonny as Olive's friend, Ashley as Marley's daughter's friend, Christopher Kittredge as the son of Olive, and Annabel Kittredge as the wife of Christopher. In chapter 3, we have also Kaylee, which is Bertha's cleaning lady, Doris and Ringross as Kaylee's teacher, Christine as Mrs. Ringross' classmate, Phil Ringross as the husband of Mrs. Ringross, Bertha as Kaylee's boss, Brenda as Kaylee's elder sister, Ed as Brenda's husband, and Miss Minnie as Kaylee's friend in the nursing home.
In chapter 4, Elizabeth Strout introduces another set of character, and here we have Natalie, Annabel, Theodore, Henry Kittredge, and Edith. In chapter 5, we have Louis Larkin, Suzanne Larkin, Bernie Green, Doyle Larkin, and Roger Larkin. In chapter 6, we have Cindy Combs, Tom Coombs, Andrea Ryu, and Anita.
So in chapter 7, the author introduced another set of characters. We have Danny Pelletier as the neighbor of Olive, Marie Levesque as Denny's lover, and Dory Page as the girl to whom Denny fall in love. In chapter 8, we have Uncle George as the uncle of Olive, and Gray Taylor as Elaine's companion.
Another set of characters are introduced in Chapter 9. These are Jim Burgess, Helen Burgess, Ernie, Bob, Margaret, Susan, Pam, and Zach. In Chapter 10, we have Busy Stevens.
For chapter 11, we have Burgess MacPherson as Ethel's husband, Laurie MacPherson as the daughter of MacPherson, Ethel MacPherson as the wife of Fergus, Teddy as the dog of the MacPherson, Charlene as Fergus' ex-lover, and Teddy as Laurie's son.
During the time when Olive was at the hospital, she met another new set of characters, and these are Jeff, Dr. Rabulinsky, Betty, Jerry Schuyler, Jane, and Halima. In the last part of this novel, Olive meets another set of characters, and these are Barbara Pasnick, Bernie Green, Mousy Pants, and Amy Dinault. Plot Chapter 1 Arrival. Jack Kennison drives to Portland, Maine to buy groceries. He misses Olive. They had kissed and spent time together, but she never called him again. He reflects on his late wife Betty, who passed away 7 months ago, as well as his affair with Elaine Kraft. Jack had taught at Harvard, but Elaine later filed a sexual harassment case against him. As a result, Jack had given up his job. Jack is penalized for speeding on his way back from Portland, and his vehicle inspection is late. They brutalize him, but he's only a few milligrams over the legal limit. When he goes home, he hunts up Tom Groger, a man Betty used to adore in her youth, and informs him of Betty's death. Tom reacts, revealing that he had an affair with Betty at one point. He's furious, but he settles for writing Olive a sincere message in which he expresses his want to meet her again, but he's undecided about sending it. Chapter 2 Labor. Olive spots Jack Kennison, who she'd spent some time with a month ago. 2 days prior, Olive ends up at a baby shower that ended with her delivering a baby. She tells her son Christopher about it, though his wife has recently suffered a miscarriage. Olive finally calls Jack, who invites him to come over. Jack asks why he never returned his messages, and Olive tells him she doesn't use her answering machine. Olive sleeps over at a guest room at his place. Chapter 3 Cleaning. Kaylee Callahan, an eighth grader in Crosby, has been living with her widowed mother since her father died 2 years ago from a medical condition. Kaylee's mother is typically concerned and busy, and she pays little attention to her daughter. Kaylee cleans Bertha Babcock's house for extra money, and one day Mrs. Ringrose, her English teacher, asked her to do the same for her. Miss Minnie, whom she had greatly liked and cleaned for until Miss Minnie suffered a stroke, is someone she occasionally visits. Kaylee ends up sexually touching herself while in the Ringroses' home when the place is empty. Mr. Ringrose sees her when he arrives at this house. He gives her some money that she didn't expect. Kaylee is ecstatic with everything and resumes her piano practice with fresh vigor. 4 months this has been happening. Mrs. Ringrose fires Kaylee one day, citing health difficulties at home as the reason for her dismissal. When Kaylee returns home, her mother has discovered some of the money and is enraged that she has quit her job and hits her. Brenda, Kaylee's sister, arrives at the house and tells that since their father died, their mother has been depressed. Chapter 4 Motherless Child. Christopher and Anne will be paying a visit. They bring their entire family in, and Olive is overjoyed since Christopher is conversing with her. She hasn't told Christopher about Jack yet, so when he inquires about the automobile she's driving, she lies and claims to have purchased it. They decided to take the kids to the coast. Anne tells Olive about her mother's death. Olive understands Anne's sadness and extends her sympathy to her. Kaylee stashes the extra cash in the piano, which her mother eventually sells, claiming Kaylee no longer practices. Mr. Ringrose has lost his mental faculties and is being sent to a nursing facility, according to Olive Kittredge. Chapter 5 Helped. The Larkin home has been destroyed by fire after their son Doyle was convicted and sentenced to prison for stabbing a girl 29 times. The fire killed Roger Larkin, who lived on the upper floor of the house. Two drug users allegedly broke in and attempted to make meth in the kitchen, causing a fire. Suzanne Larkin, the daughter, has returned home and met with her father's lawyer, Bernie Green. Suzanne works as a child protection specialist for the Attorney General's office. Suzanne confides in Bernie that she is going to divorce shortly as a result of an affair she had and intends to confess to her husband. Bernie advises against telling him. Bernie suggested she sees a therapist. Bernie informs Suzanne that her father's inheritance was large, but Bernie also discloses to Suzanne that much of the money was made by exploiting South Africa's apartheid system. Suzanne visits her mother, who, in her frail state, confesses to assaulting Doyle as a child. Suzanne says she is worried knowing that she has lost any sense of faith in the last few years when she phones Bernie later. Bernie reassures her that her fate will return one day, and he feels a weight lifted off his shoulders as he observes Suzanne's giddiness after all of this. Suzanne hangs up the phone feeling both reflective and hopeful. Chapter 6 Light. Cindy Coombs is in the grocery store when she almost trips. Olive Kittredge, a former instructor, recognizes her and offers to assist her with her shopping. Olive visits Cindy to see how her treatment is progressing. She reveals to Olive that the possibility of dying makes her angry, afraid, and alone. Tom, her spouse, has irritated her. Olive pays Cindy another visit a few days later. Olive and Jack have been married for 2 years and they discuss her relationship. Cindy is concerned about what happened if she passes away, particularly for her husband Tom. Olive informs her that despite her remarriage, she still pines for her late husband Henry. Cindy is undergoing her final chemo treatment. Olive pays her another visit and Cindy observes that her sister-in-law Anita is the only other person who still pays visit for her. When Cindy expresses her dissatisfaction with Tom, Olive tells her that Tom is angry and as well is probably unable to concentrate. Cindy understands Olive is correct and her resentment of Tom diminishes. Chapter 7 The Walk. Danny Pelletier wonders about his children as he walks about Crosby late at night. He recalls Dorothy, Dory Page, a lovely young lady he met in high school. For years they had chatted constantly, but he had never taken action. She eventually went to college and then committed suicide not long after. Danny later learned through a common friend that Dory's father had sexually molested her as a child. He notices a man passed out on a bench as he walks. He dials 911 and the cops confirm that the man is under the influence of drugs and transport him to the hospital. Danny is said to have saved the man's life. Danny feels relieved as he returns home, knowing that his children were raised in a secure environment. Danny admits that he's been down about the end of his life, but that the reminder that it's not over yet makes him feel better.
Chapter 8, The Pedicure. Olive and Jack have been married for 5 years. Olive used to be very anxious all the time when they first married. He came on Olive recently, furious because she couldn't reach her tools to clip her nails. So Jack and Olive has been already married for 5 years. So Jack reflected on how they grow together as a married couple. So during the first month of their marriage, they go to sleep while holding each other's hand. Even Jack can show who he really was whenever he was with Olive. So one day Jack saw Olive crying because she couldn't reach and even cut her toenails. So Jack decided to give Olive her first pedicure. So Olive was so happy. That simple action of Jack gives so much joy to Olive, and she was so thankful. So they decided to go for a ride to Shirley Falls, and they drive past the neighborhood where Henry grew up, as well as surroundings Olive's childhood home. So after getting Olive's first pedicure, the couple decided to go to Shirley Falls. They passed by the neighborhood of Jack and the childhood home of Olive. They even noticed that many immigrants have moved to that place. So when they arrive at the restaurant, Elaine walks in. Because the town has a family population, Elaine tells them that she was in town investigating clitorectomy, or the female circumcision. So when they arrived at Shirley Falls, they decided to eat at the restaurant. So when they are already at the restaurant, Elaine suddenly appeared. So Elaine is the former lover of Jack. Elaine approached them and told them that she was in town to investigate the clitorectomy, or the female circumcision. Elaine, on the other hand, had been documenting their affair as an evidence all along, and when Elaine was denied tenure. In the meantime, Jack was placed on leave and never returned. So way back before, Elaine has recorded everything as an evidence, even their affair. Olive was so jealous and angry when she know about it, which led to a fight between her and Jack. So Olive and Jack had a fight on the way back and go to bed angry. Olive, on the other hand, takes Jack back to bed when he wakes up disoriented in the middle of the night. Following Jack and Olive's departure, Jack reflects on how much he adored. So while driving home, they are still fighting and even go to bed with anger and jealousy. So because of that fight, Jack was so upset and was not able to sleep properly, and he even wakes up disoriented. So for chapter 9, Chip and Helen Borges fly to Maine to drop off their eldest grandson Ernie at the summer camp. They drive next to Crosby to see Jim's brother Bob and Margaret, Bob's wife. Bob and Margaret had previously lived in Shirley Falls, but had relocated to Crosby. Their father died in a car accident while Bob and Jim were very young, and they were in the car with them. So Jim and Helen Burgess are going to Maine to drop off their eldest grandson at the summer camp, and also to visit Jim's brother Bob and his wife. So when they are still young, they had an accident which caused the death of their father. So Jim didn't reveal that to Bob until much later, that he had been toying with the clutch which had caused the accident. So Jim kept the accident as a secret, not until he saw his brother playing a clutch, which is the reason of the accident. So Bob and Jim returned to Shirley Falls, where their sister Susan still resides, and also where they grow up. So Jim is torn between his guilt for the disaster, his use of medication and blaming it on his wife, and having an affair at one time. Margaret and Helen, on the other hand, go to a city artwork. So even if they move to other place, but the guilt remains in his heart. But his wife never leave him and persuade him to face the reality in order for him to recover from that trauma. So many people stop to say hello to Margaret, who is a Unitarian pastor in town. Helen slips and falls on the stairs when they come home, but she is unharmed. So while walking, the people greeted Margaret, who used to be a Unitarian pastor in their town. When they are on their way home, Helen suddenly slips and fell on the stairs, and luckily she's not hurt. So Margaret feels bad about not being courteous to Helen that day. Helen, she believes, is too wealthy, and as a result, she is self-centered. Margaret is prejudiced against Helen because of her money, Bob realizes. While Helen sleeps, Bob considers how lonely individuals are and what they do to avoid feeling lonely. Bob reassures Helen when she stirs in her sleep. So chapter 10, the point. So Olive is currently 82 years old. To dine, she drives to Marina. Andrea Ryu is one of the people she sees. Andrea extends an invitation to Olive to join her. So Olive was eating at the local marina where she saw Andrea Ryu. She decided to approach her and Andrea invited her to join her. They began talking about their experiences in life. Andrea has returned since her father is suffering from dementia and she has responsibilities. They had a pleasant supper. Andrea offers Olive a hug. When Jack and Olive return from their trip to Oslo, Olive learns that Andrea was in a major car accident but survived. Olive speculates that Andrea was attempting suicide. So when they arrive from their trip to Oslo, Olive heard the news about Andrea having an accident. Upon knowing it, Olive thinks that she did it on purpose and wanted to suicide. So Jack had passed away by the autumn. In May, Andrea's poem, which has been marked with a post-it, appears in a magazine. It's about Andrea having a breakfast with her former teacher, which Olive reads. Olive, she says, is projecting her own loneliness onto her. Olive is perplexed as to who placed that magazine in her mailbox. So someone put a magazine in Olive's mailbox. It is about Andrea is having a meal with her former teacher. So Olive later reflects on how diverse human experiences are. She also considers how she sees herself as someone who sees things that others don't. Yet she overlooks this. She ponders how will she know Henry or Jack in the past. So chapter 11, the end of Civil War days. So on the outskirts of town, Fergus and Ethel Macpherson are a couple. Fergus Macpherson and his wife had an affair when they were younger, before divorce became commonplace. So Ethel and Fergus Macpherson is married for 42 years, but they only communicated with each other for 7 years because Ethel found out that her husband is having an affair with other women. So she decided to divide the house using a duct tape and ignore each other as if they don't exist. So the couple continues to live in the house, which is divided by a yellow duct tape, and Lori are their two daughters. Lisa pays a visit to her family and announces that she will be included in a documentary about dominatrixes or Fergus is irritated. So one day, their daughter Lisa told them that she is coming for a visit and that she is part of the documentary about the dominatrix, which makes Fergus irritated. So Fergus is a Civil War reincarnator, and the two are planning a reincarnament. He shows up and runs into Charlene Weber, with whom he had a long ago affair. He also runs across Anita Combs, who is experiencing automobile trouble, and they have a conversation about how insane the world has become. So Fergus is part of the annual Civil War reincarnament in their town. He shows up and runs into Charlene Biber, who used to be his fling and have an affair before. He also encountered Anita Combs and talked about how the world changes. So Ethel and the girls are watching the documentary when he gets home. Fergus passed out. When he wakes up, Ethel strokes his arms and comforts him. So chapter 12, Heart. So Olive finds herself in a hospital. Dr. Rabolensky, her cardiologist, informed her that she has had a heart attack. Olive is in the intensive care unit. Chris pays her a visit and arranges for home care. She is allowed to return home once she has moved her bowels. So Olive woke up in the hospital and the doctor told her that she suffered from a heart attack. And sad to say, Christopher came to visit her and told her that she was so worried when he heard what happened. The doctor explained everything and told him that she can go home when she can already move her bowels. So a group of women arrives to provide Olive with around-the-clock care. Olive is enraged when one of women, Betty, who wears a Trump bumper sticker, is nasty to Halima, a Kenyan woman. So one Olive Dr. Rabolensky observes that Olive must have been a wonderful mother, given how often Christopher has visited her. Olive is told she is fine, but she is sad and lonely. So Olive falls one night and has to force herself to get up. Christopher intends to place her in an assisted living soon. So one night, Olive has fell into the floor. She tried her best and forced herself to get up as if nothing happened. But her son knew it, so he decided to put her mother in an assisted living. So Betty stops by before she moves and they have a conversation. Betty informs Olive about her problems and Olive develops feelings for her. So chapter 13, Friend. So Olive is now a resident at an assisted living facility. Olive notices that her environment is shrinking. Olive is not much like there, and she believes that the majority of the locals are snobs. Bernie Green, who managed the sales of Henry's pharmacy, is present, but he is constantly crying since his wife suffers from Alzheimer's disease. Ethel MacPherson, who moved in after her husband died, is also there. The Chipmans are a couple and be friends, however, they are a bit dull. So Olive has been transferred to an assisted living in the Maple Tree apartment. She finds it difficult to make friends because most of the people there are snobs. She also noticed that most of the people there are rich and she realized that she's not wealthy enough to be one of them. So Christopher brings his entire family to visit. He obediently delivers her a typewriter and some rose bushes when she begs for them. Olive began to jot down her memories on her computer. So Christopher never fails to visit her. One day he visits her mother together with his family. So Olive requests for a typewriter and some rose bushes. He gave what her mother asked him, and then Olive started writing down her memories. Olive recalls her mother who suffered from a brain tumor and began acting strangely. Her mother would walk out and rub her car as if it were a hearse, and probably because it symbolized freedom for her. So Olive even recalls the memories that she had together with her mother who is suffering from a brain tumor. Olive meets Mouse Pants, a woman whose real name is Isabel Godreau. Isabel was raped as a child by a friend of her father, and as a result, she became pregnant with Amy. Amy adores Isabel despite her claims that she was a bad mother. Olive claims that she was also a bad mother. Their children are both doctors who married pharmacists. Olive and Isabel grow closer as a result of their shared experiences. Olive learns she's not happy there as she and Isabel grow closer. So Olive also met Isabel Godrow, also known as Mouse Pants. She is a victim of rape when she was young by his father's friend and became pregnant. She kept on telling that she is not a good mother to her daughter. But her daughter is not thinking that way because for her, her mother is the best mother. As time goes by, Olive and Isabel become closer to the point that they trust each other and share their memories and experiences. So Olive reflects on how life and how fortunate she's been after attending a funeral for a resident. She is baffled as to why she has ever been liked, and then he goes to Isabel for dinner.
Styles of the author. Strout writes in a realism manner that can seem old-fashioned or quaint, transparent, and immersive, concentrating on ordinary people and the tangible elements of everyday life intended as mobilizing the reader's sympathy and pity. Themes. Many themes are seen in this novel, but these are the most common: love, friendship, sorrow, regret, complications of marriage, as the character tends to live and make decisions with her everyday life to save themselves from that gaping darkness.
So we have the cultural implication. So the work reflects the life during the modern times. It also recounts various stories from various perspectives. The work is realistic and it also states the truth about our difficulties that never go away as we get older. Instead, it multiplies. It also reflects how weak humans are when it comes to love, as well as our true self character.
Implication of the title. Olive Again is a sequel to Elizabeth Strout's work Olive Kittredge, although this time Olive is older. Olive Kittredge is the main character once more in this chapter. Her old age problem are depicted in this work. It doesn't matter if it's personal or if it's someone she knew. In Olive Again, the characters fight against misery like people trying to hold back the tide. Personal evaluation and conclusion. Olive was well aware of bizarre behaviors and terrible words spoken, but she couldn't comprehend why she and her son, Christopher, should face old age with a high and terrifying barrier between them. Olive might be direct, honest, and forthright. She was a woman with strong opinion and judgment. She despised people who were always. Olive's frustration and judgments were understandable. She kept her thoughts to herself, We could picture the baby shower, the joyous, smiling attendees, but also Olive, who was around 70 years old at that time, as well as her irritation. Kaylee was a young girl who got pleasure and money from cleaning house for a man named Mr. Ringrose while unbuttoning her shirt. He stood there and observed. He thanked her and handed her a cash envelope. These lasted 9 weeks. Kaylee had no one to tell about what had happened, and the knowledge stuck with her and made her feel ill practically continuously. It's one of that makes you ponder. We weren't expecting to be so sad after reading some of these short stories, but we were. Olive barely survived a visit from her son Christopher, his wife Annabel, and their 3 children. Olive was completely spent. We felt exhausted due to some silent cruelty, coldness, and saddened by the distance and hatred between the bratty children and their grandma, as well as Olive's inability to do anything right. Our heart was bleeding for each of the family members suffering, but we felt particularly sorry for Olive. It must be excruciating to be rejected and criticized by your adult children and grandchildren while dealing with aging. Elizabeth Strout deftly and gracefully grasped the situation. Her ability to decipher the nuances of family life and relationship is conveyed with a strong sense of humanity. It was easy to picture the various individuals modeled through keeping on, weathering the inevitable sorrows and joys of their life far beyond the pages. This novel may easily be read on its own. It has great insights, tension, humor, startling melancholy, and now that we've come to the last part of our discussion, I, May, and Caniedo, together with my partner, Miss Aiza Blanco, would like to thank you for listening. Good day and God bless.